See, I think this is too interesting.
For the 改衰街碟咧，會添面。
你噏乜嘢啊？應該聽唔明呢度啲英文嘅。
我哋呢個卡迪威爾斯首都唔講英文嘅喎，講威爾斯文嘅喎。你嚟呢度做咩啊？
嚟呢度睇書咯，嚟卡迪。
唉，我哋呢度好多圖書館啊、書店睇唔晒嘅咯。趁而家 Prime 啊，我帶你一個 LGBT 嘅圖書館啦。Annie，
識威爾斯文好叻咩？我個識意大利文啦。Andiamo。
Nomad Reading Group 最近去咗位於 Cardiff 嘅 LGBTQ+ 圖書館 DCID 參觀，呢個空間歡迎所有人，包括 LGBTQ+ 嘅社群。大家嚟到呢度可以睇書、欣賞藝術展覽、觀賞電影、參加各式各樣嘅藝術同埋社區活動。今次我哋有幸邀請到兩位創辦人 Joshua 同 Ray 同我哋講下呢個係個點嘅地方。
We say that WID is a social hub, a community art space. It's a library. It serves so many different purposes, and it can really vary day to day depending on who's using the space. So yes, we have exhibitions of art on the walls, and we have our library, which is open to artists and the public, the local communities. I'm Joshua. I'm a writer and a poet based in Cardiff, and I co-founded and co-direct WID with Ray.
Yeah, I'm Ray. I'm sort of like an environmentalist and creative who also co-founded, co-direct WID and run the collage club that we have here.
Why do we choose the books that we put on shelves? Well, I think because we're so integrated into the local artist communities, we really think about those artists in the curation of our library. Like we don't just take any books, like we do try and curate it. So we have like a really big film and photography section, an art section, but because me and Ray are neurodivergent and queer, and we want this to be a safe place for people of similar identities, we have a lot of books by queer writers and artists. We have a big queer section that incorporates like non-fiction and theory and poetry and fiction. There's a mixture of what we're into, but thinking about what our local communities would like as well.
We had a launch weekend back in November 2022, sort of being open to the public from December, and it started as like a really small idea and just sort of absolutely took off really, really quickly. Which was a
bit of an accident, really, to be honest.
A very it was like quite a sort of serendipitous situation.
At the time, I was running creative writing workshops and a poetry open mic at Cardiff Umbrella, who are in the same building, and I wanted to just put up a bookshelf and a chair, and it'd just be like its own self-serving library where like it wouldn't need someone to run it, it would run itself. But it just so happens that there was a space going, a unit going in the centre that was offered to us. They asked if I wanted to set up a space here. And I went, yeah, cool, no problem, thinking that it was going to be a really small space. And then they brought me over to see this space, and I was like, oh God, it's huge. How are we going to use the space, And then we spent like a month, 6 weeks or so.
Probably about 6 weeks.
Attempting to build furniture, which went terribly.
Quickly realised we weren't very good with a drill.
Yeah. We just decided when we opened that it would be a sober, alcohol-free space. Mainly just because there aren't any alcohol-free queer spaces.
It's quite rare to have like a designated sober queer space.
Especially when you go to an exhibition opening in an art gallery, like they will still have a bar of sorts, At first we like it was kind of like we didn't really think about it too hard, and then it just made sense to do it. And only since speaking to people in our community who really appreciate the fact that it's alcohol-free sober space, that is really cemented that was a good idea. Because for a lot of people may have issues with alcohol, and there's groups of people who don't drink and don't want to be in spaces where there's alcohol. So
唔啱喎，啲書睇嚟睇去。
唔啱睇啊？睇呢本咯，好書。
麻麻地喎呢本，有冇其他推介啊？
要推介逢星期六10點至11點半，朝早啊，記住嚟我哋遊牧一齊讀書，
好，就試下咯。
就試下佢。
But yeah, I think Cardiff, like everywhere else, has work to do. But I do think it is one of the most inclusive places I've lived. I'm finding it hard to find the words to explain why. But
Well, I don't know. I think for me, it's like the general community spirit I've found in the city. That it just feels very embedded in the culture here. That everyone sort of wants to help each other out. It feels like everyone's kind of a friend in a way, I guess. So.
每年6月嘅 Pride Month 都係慶祝社會接落多元同埋 LGBTQ+ 社群逐漸受到認可嘅月份。LGBTQ+ 社群包括身份認同係女同性戀、男同性戀、雙性戀、酷兒、跨性別人士、無性戀或者其他性別認同嘅人。雖然 LGBTQ+ 嘅權益近年取得重大嘅進展，但 Pride Month 同時都提醒大家社會要邁向平等依然存在挑戰。而喺 Cardiff 6月17號將會舉行 Pride Parade， 加上1連2日喺 Cardiff Castle 嘅慶祝活動。
Well, we're being really fucking gay as usual. No, I'm joking. Yeah, on the day of Pride, we're doing like a sort of pre-Pride social where people can come here before the parade to meet their friends,
to get ready.
Yeah, make some if they want to make signs or do face painting and stuff.
We thought it would be just a nice way, for people who might not have been to Pride before or gone to the parade, it can be a bit nerve-wracking to do that on your own. So maybe having this as a place where we can be like, oh, you can come and sit with us, and then we can all go there together.
All right. So yeah, I'd like to recommend this from our library. This is from our environmental and nature writing section. It's called 100 Poems to Save the Earth, which is published by Serin Books in 2021. Yeah, it's a really fantastic anthology. It invites us to fine-tune our senses and to experience the world around us while we still can. So every 2 weeks we pick a featured poem. So the current featured poem is Body as Cloud by the cyborg Gillian Wise. It's just one of many amazing poems that are published in this anthology, and it kind of deconstructs the idea of the body as divided from the rest of the world. Kind of says that when the earth suffers, the human body, the human spirit suffers, and vice versa. We're completely in sync with each other.
So as well as the featured poem, we always do a book of the month. And back in March, I chose this book, All the Things They Said We Couldn't Have, which is a collection of stories really, personal accounts of trans joy, which is really important to me as a trans non-binary person. And I actually, this year, after reading this book, I gave it to my mum as a way to sort of come out to her. And yeah, I just think it's great. Everyone should read it. It's very...
And who is it by?
Tash Oakes manga.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a really wonderful story.
Yeah.
Yeah. 係咪影緊㗎？我未影。OK。